1 heist, 6 plots for betrayal. When Raya Cautela cons 5 other thieves into helping her steal a magical artifact from the most powerful man in the world, she knows she's playing with fire. What she doesn't know is that the rest of her crew is just as underhanded as she is, and they all have plans of their own. M.J. Kuhn's Among Thieves, a fantasy heist novel full of twists, turns, and betrayal, available beginning September 7th wherever books are sold. Visit mjkuhn.com for more details.
On today's episode, Mike and Ryan ride the rainbow of mead. Cheers. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Brewthers-In-Law podcast, where beer is thicker than water, or in this case, mead is thicker than water.
Nice.
Join us on a journey discovering homebrewing, craft beer / mead, and more. My name is Ryan, and with me is my brother, Michael. How's it going, Mike?
It is going great. Episode 2 of 2 for the day.
And I can definitely tell.
Yeah, me too.
I can definitely feel it.
Peek behind the curtain. Episode 1 was the
six-pack.
Among Thieves 6-pack. And so, yes, this is a big tasting day for us.
Yes, it is a big tasting day. These will be small samples, so we'll be good on this one.
That'll be good, yeah. It's the nice thing about mead is you're not kind of committing to an entire...
So let's dive into the first sip. And I kind of just saw this one up as episode was about to start. We are doing a rainbow of mead, which is, I will let you describe it more, but like it's different flavors of mead, but not doing flavors. So I want to ask you, Mike, what is an alcoholic beverage, or even a non-alcoholic beverage, we'll throw that in there, that is not the original version of it, that you like a lot? So as an example, I know you're not going to use this because you hate vodka. If you like vodka, but then you go for a raspberry vodka instead.
Sure. But isn't that technically like a flavor and not like a different version of...
No, because I want flavor, though. I want flavor.
Okay.
I want some flavoring.
Well, so I'm going to stroke your ego, and I will say that your mead made from agave, which you call mead-a-rita, is a great example, and it is delicious. I
do love it.
Something that is kind of mead, but made with not the expected ingredient, even more so than the what we're going to talk about today. So
it's in our Advent calendar. It's towards the end of December.
Is it?
Yes.
Wonderful. Another one that I will say, I don't drink a lot of tea, but I've been getting, since it's been cold, I've been kind of on a kick, especially in the evenings of having like, Tisane, so like tea that isn't actually tea, which I think is a pretty good analog here. And, so Kaylin got into it, our 2.5-year-old.
Okay.
Probably gonna have to start rounding that up soon.
Yeah.
But, she really wanted to have some, so we bought her a pack of like non-caffeinated teas. Okay. And I had a peppermint tea with her, which I'd never had before. And oh my God, it's good.
It's good. It's supposed to be really good for your stomach as well. It's supposed to calm your
so
stomach.
like I've had mint tea before, tea with like mint mixed with other things, but I don't love peppermint. It's not even on my short list of favorite types of mint, but as a tea, holy crap, it's good. It really works. And I loved that. And so that's kind of my non-Ryan ego stroking response.
So I'll have two as well. I'm going to do an alcohol and a non-alcoholic. My alcoholic one is our favorite, at least my favorite Scotch. It is the Belvini Caribbean Cask, where it is a Scotch, but it is aged inside of a rum barrel, which gives it that slight little bit of a different flavor compared to most Scotches.
Right. It does it doesn't sound like it. Just like, well, that's basically the same thing. It's not.
It's not. It's
there's nothing like
and mellows with like those little notes of vanilla and everything in there. It's very, very good. Non-alcoholic wise though, and it's that time of the year for me, and even probably when this episode comes out, so it'll be that time of the year with winter coffee. I start putting mint into my mochas.
Oh, okay.
Because I do love a mint mocha, especially from Starbucks, where I usually get it from. My go-to drink for Starbucks is usually that cold brew with the sweet vanilla cream. But when Christmas and the holidays time gets here, I want a mocha with that.
Mocha? Okay.
Yep, I'll switch with that.
So now, have you ever had a Mexican mocha or like a Mayan?
I have actually, yeah. It's very good.
Those are good too. So
I had a beer
for the
actually,
uninitiated. The My Mocha Stout.
No, you didn't come with us the last guys' night. We did. Sorry, I know you got 2 kids, but we went to Loaded Dice Brewery, which is here local in Michigan, and they had one with I forgot exactly what it was, but it was like a Mexican coffee or something like that, and it was a stout.
Yeah, so it's
like almost spiciness to it.
Well, it is spicy. Yeah, so it's
it was really really good.
It's like spicy pepper, chocolate to make it a mocha.
Yeah,
those are, and then coffee. Those are like kind of the 3 primary things that make something like a Mexican mocha. It's you start with a mocha, which is like a chocolatey coffee.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a real tangent, but do you know where the name mocha comes from?
I do not know.
So apparently, I'm forgetting exactly how this works. So look the story up and fact check it. But I believe it. It was like, so most coffee originates from Africa. I think from Ethiopia primarily, and I believe. So there was, I think, like a port city in like the Middle East somewhere, like on the Mediterranean, called Mocha.
Okay.
It took some beans, like one variety of beans from Africa, and transported it there and started growing it. This was kind of before coffee went everywhere. And because of the sort of terroir of, if you're a coffee person and you've had coffee from a lot of different countries, you know how different it can taste.
Yeah.
The specific terroir there had this very distinctly chocolatey flavor, so that the mocha as a drink was invented to replicate the flavor of mocha coffee, because the coffee there apparently just was naturally tasted like that.
Okay.
And I just think it's a really cool story. And I might be mixing up some of the the but I guarantee if you Google it,
if it's wrong, someone will come on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a ploy for listener feedback. You say things wrong on purpose.
Yes, and then someone will correct you. Yeah, we'll get someone to say something about that.
Anyway, that's a tangent, but
yes.
I just think it's interesting because I'm a bit of a coffee nerd. So, do we have any listener feedback?
I do actually have a listener feedback. I will get into that. Let me pull up my stuff. So, I saved this one, and I forgot to use it when we did another episode that involved your actual stuff that you made. So before you actually decided your name, we wanted to go through and give you a name. And without you knowing, because you're not on Twitter, I put out a poll for everyone to kind of pick what name you wanted. So we had talked about in season 1, like you were thinking about maybe like Falling Apple or Fourth Law, kind of
some sort of Isaac Newton joke,
type.
Even though we have no idea if we're related to him. But.
Exactly, yeah. So we put one out there for the vote, and those were the 2 options. And just so you know, the people decided it should be Fourth Law. So your name is wrong.
That's a pretty good one, yeah. I forget if we ever talked about that on air, but yeah, we decided to just go with a very simple Newton Family Brew Works because it's a family thing. Haley and I very much brew together, and now Kaylin's old enough that she helps stir, and she helps like us measure out our water. She's very helpful.
Yeah.
She our little brewer's assistant. And so yeah, but I do very much appreciate the poll. I do like Fourth Law. Mm-hmm. I think maybe if we needed something snappier, if we ever went commercial, that'd be a great name.
Yeah.
But
you could just make that into a beer name.
Since we're not,
make that into a beer name. If you ever do one,
like our Grand Cru or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. We'll keep it. The people have spoken; they want it, and you will keep it with them.
What the heck kind of beer would be our? You'll have to put that out as a poll. Well, I would see that the problem would be that no one's had any of our beers, so nobody knows. No one who isn't like doesn't come over our house has really tried a range of our beers. So yeah, well, we'll have to think about that. That's maybe a. You know what? Actually, okay, follow me here. A field research episode on Grand Crus would be a really cool episode to do.
That would be. That'd be expensive too.
It would be, but maybe we could just
6.5 will cover for that one, right?
The insane ad revenue we make off this podcast. Yeah. But maybe we could just do 3 or 4 or something.
Yeah.
Because there are definitely ones that you can find in stores, and a lot of them age well, so we could just pick them up as we go. And
I technically still have one in my globe.
You have Armageddon?
I have Armageddon. I don't know how old it is. It's been there for a long time.
It ages well.
It does. I'm letting it age more, and eventually when something really good happens, we'll crack it open.
There you go.
And by crack it open, it'd be me, because Mal will not like it.
Invite me over.
Okay, you're coming.
Depending on the good news, you know.
Season 3 gets approved. We're going to crack it open.
Okay.
It is decided.
There we go. Okay. Well, should we dive? Should we get back on track?
Let's get back on track to mead, which is not beer or mocha.
I'm in tangent mode today. I blame the Among Thieves 6-pack.
I do too.
Okay, well, so yeah, let's start talking about mead. So, in my idea for this was very much inspired, Ryan, by your original episode on mead making.
Yes.
You know,
yeah, it was last season. Yeah, first season.
Yeah. So plug to that episode. But I had never brewed mead before, but Ryan just made it sound so easy.
It is. It just takes time.
But so one of the First of all, one thing I'll say up front is that most of the advice that you gave, I found to be very helpful and very true in this process.
Oh, good.
So thanks for that.
You're welcome.
You set us up to succeed, but you know, a lot of the meads that you have made, Ryan, involve sort of non-honey ingredients, right? And that's not
secondary.
Unlike your beer brewing habits, you're not really an outlier there. It's very common for like meads are typically made with things layered on top of the honey. It's extremely common. But you know, in beer, you have your base malt. That can be a lot of things. You can use pale two-row as base malt. You can use Pilsner malt, which is slightly paler. You can use Vienna or Munich or like dark Munich as base malt. And those basically they're a lot of times described as the canvas that you paint a beer on. You know, you could think about that. Then like your specialty malts, your hops, your yeast choice sort of put in the colors. But, you know, if you're painting on canvas versus on construction paper or whatever, that makes them sound like it's a value judgment. But I just more mean like, you know, this kind of provides this underlying texture.
Yeah.
And so I happened to see online that Trader Joe's has this rainbow of honey where you can get honey made from kind of bees that are taking their pollen or their nectar primarily from different flowers. And there are 6 different honeys that you got from like different types of flower. And it just immediately made me think of like base malts. And I was like, okay, not only can you alter all the different things you can add to honey, but like what would happen if you used different honey? You know, how would that change things? And I thought this was fascinating. So this is actually the first mead that Haley and I ever made was 6 meads. And honestly, it was shorter and easier than a normal beer brewing day. Still.
You know what? I'm actually slightly jealous from my 6-pack that we just did the episode for where I doing the 6 different things. Yeah. I wish it was that easy.
It really just, it was not that hard. And so, like, I guess I would endorse what you said. Like, mead making is an easy thing to get into. It helped that we had to buy some equipment, but by and large, you know, we had some of the equipment that we needed, we had from Brew and Beer already. So that was nice. But,
well, yeah, because you guys, how big of a batch did you guys do for each one?
So, okay.
I think I'm jumping ahead, but go for it.
Should I dive into like our kind of recipe process?
Yeah, go for it.
So we got 2 packs of this Trader Joe's Rainbow of Honey pack. So each pack is only 4 ounces. 4 ounces is not a lot of honey. So what we ended up doing, even though the pack's kind of expensive, it's like, I don't know, it's like a $60 pack for these like 6 times 4 ounces. So what we ended up doing is just buying 2 packs, which again was expensive, but it was going to be a fun experiment. So we got 8 ounces of honey per batch. And I guess I will say that the types of honey they have were clover, sunflower, macadamia, cashew, orange blossom, and eucalyptus. So 8 ounces of each. And we basically wanted, and I talked to you about this idea. And I said, well, okay, if so traditionally in Michigan, if you just go and buy like Michigan honey, it's probably going to be clover honey because clover is very prevalent. So that's just kind of how it works out. If you keep bees, they probably mostly have access to clover honey.
Yes.
In other parts of the country, I think it might be wildflower.
But still, like
depending on where you are,
for the most part, it's a very mix of different things. Yeah. So you're not gonna get a generic, separate flavor out of it. So like from what I'm guessing is they've specifically said, okay, you bees, sunflowers only,
Yeah.
get us the honey, and then you get the honey from that. You bees, cashews, give me that honey.
Yeah.
So like, but in the wild, they're going to be going to all these different plants, and it's all going to kind of mix together.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, you would almost have to like kind of set this, and there's an interesting little like anecdote I have about this later, but like you would almost have to kind of grow the right things around your bees to ensure that's what they have access to,
Or enclose them too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know this is I know that you hate like farming video games, but the game Stardew Valley, which is kind of it's like the spiritual like perfecter of Harvest Moon.
Yes.
You can have bee houses and grow bees and they make honey. You can also grow flowers. If you surround a bee house with a specific type of flower, they'll make like there's a blue jazz flower. You can make blue jazz honey. So like you can do this.
Okay.
And then I believe you can also, I forget if like they tell you the type of mead you've made, but you can also then ferment it into mead. This game is incredible. You can like you can make beer, you can make pale ale by using hops, and then you can make like mead.
Nice.
You can make wine. It's a great game. I'm about to say. Play it. Okay, but this is now a Stardew Valley podcast.
No, it's not.
But okay. So in any event, yeah. So I think that's kind of I think you sort of correctly described my understanding of how it works. You just you probably have to grow the flowers or put your beehives in a specific place where you know about how far they travel and you know that overwhelmingly they're getting this type of nectar. Yeah. So it was 8 ounces of honey, which is 2 times 2 of the Rainbow of Honey pack. Mm-hmm. And then we did that with 6 cups of water. So that was the entire batch. It was a 6 cup of water batch. So not even quite half a gallon. That works out to, so normally with the ratio that you would use in like a standard batch of honey, like the recipe you sent me, which is like how many pounds a gallon?
3 pounds per gallon.
Right, 3 pounds per gallon. So this is not that. And then basically what it works out to, I used like an online calculator. This works out to about, whereas a normal mead would be in like the 15 to 16% range, assuming like a complete fermentation, this is like 11 to 12, or it's like 12 and some change. Okay. So more like a strong beer than a wine.
Yeah, so.
And so what we ended up doing, so we kind of liquefied our honey by heating it up in a sous vide. So we put them in bags, and we put the bags in the sous vide to warm up the honey so it would flow.
Oh, nice.
And then we also we heated up our water to kind of pasteurize it, poured that in. To these little, we got these like chonky, like half-gallon mason jars. Yeah. And then we bought, I think maybe even off Etsy or something, this like fermentation kit, but they didn't have the size of the lid was wrong. So I actually ended up making custom lids. I like just drilled holes in the tops of these mason jars or these like mason jar lids. And then I used the little stopper, the little rubber thing from this fermentation kit. Okay. So I would say if you want to do this, just be careful. Apparently there's more than one configuration of these like the fermentation kits are like a quart, not a half gallon. Yeah. And the half gallon mason jars we bought had a different size lid, which we weren't anticipating. Okay. I think there might be half gallons with like the same size lid, but just be careful. But that fermentation kit was cool. I'd like to use it for like making kimchi or something in the future, but but it came with like a little bubbler. It was a nice pickup. It was money well spent. I wish I could remember the brand, and I would plug it. But if we look it up, maybe I'll just post it on Twitter, or I'll send it to Ryan to post on Twitter. But so these were fermented in those little half-gallon jars. So we poured the honey in, we mixed it in. We kind of took some of the water and we poured it into the honey jar and like shook it up to get all the honey out. Yeah. It was like Haley and I had a nice little process. And then we made, I don't think we made a yeast starter, but we reconstituted some dry yeast with some yeast nutrient. I don't remember for sure, but we used the like Lelvin brand. I think it's like Lalamon brand. It's called Lelvin. And I think we used EC 1118, which is it's a high ABV or like a drier yeast. Like it's the one that's on the list, right? It's dry in that it's like a dried powder, but it's dry. Yeah, it's on like a lot of mead making lists and stuff, but it makes a drier mead because it can go to higher ABV before it poops out. Yeah. So we were going lower ABV. We wanted a really dry mead, not a sweet mead. Yeah. So we did that with yeast nutrient, and then I'm trying to remember how long did you because I didn't take very good notes, but how long did you recommend we do primary for? 1 month or 2?
Oh, for a primary, 2 weeks.
Okay, so we did it for a month.
Okay.
Just to be sure. And then what we did is because I know you have said you've had like corks fly off of your bottles because they like the secondary, it still is kind of fermenting really slowly. So what we did is we cleaned those out and then we retransferred we got it off the yeast cake. Mm-hmm. And then we put them back in those bubblers and let them sit in the bubblers.
That's what I do for about a month.
Yeah.
Secondary.
So we did that, I think, for 2 months, just because we were too lazy to transfer it after 1 month. And then we transferred it to then we just put normal lids on and let them just sit in those, kind of the secondary container for a while, for like 6 months. Then we transferred them into the bottles they were going to be in. We put our like pretty labels on them.
Very nice.
And then we let those sit for longer just because it was a while before we were going to get to the episode. So in total, these have aged in glass for about 10 months. We did them in...
Perfect.
11 at this point, actually, because we did them in like mid-January. Okay. So like 10 and a half months. So these have been aging for a while. And again, I personally am kind of a fan of the dryness of this. It wouldn't work for everything, but the sort of like... changing the ratio to produce, maybe like doing like 2 pounds per gallon or something like that to produce a drier mead is a really easy way. We just did it because I didn't want to cut the specialty honey with like normal honey.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to pay like just crap tons of money. I didn't want to personally finance Trader Joe's just to like buy these like rainbows of honey. So we didn't want to buy more than 2 because they're expensive. Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of why we made our mead weaker, but I'll say we've tasted some of them and I'm really happy with it. I think for some meads it's a good look. So yeah, that's sort of a discussion of that. So how are we doing on time? Should we try a couple before the break or should we save them till after?
We got time. Let's try a couple. Okay,
so we are going to start with Clover, which again, so for us, while Ryan pours, Clover is highly prevalent in the Northern Hemisphere. Most people should be fairly familiar with what it is. Clover's also produces one of the palest meads. When they say rainbow of mead, one thing I didn't mention is that like these make, like look it up on Amazon even, like these are very differently colored meads just from the nectar. Mm-hmm. It's really interesting. So Clover, they kind of, the first 4 kind of come in pairs, but I've more or less arranged them from lightest to darkest is what we're drinking.
Yep.
So Clover honey is sort of the de facto honey available at most of our grocery stores. We can see from the color, it's like this it's
almost like water.
Almost clear. It's like sort of like really, it's like well water.
Yeah. Yeah, I can go with that.
They came out really clear too, crystal clear. Everything has dropped out. So that's nice from the aging. Ryan, you've taken a couple sips. You want to give us your kind of...
It's good. It's basic mead because that's what most mead is going to be.
Super simple.
It's not oversweet. You definitely get the dryness at the end.
I think this would be really good if we had made it sparkling.
Yes, but it is tricky to get sparkling because it's a slightly different priming sugar amount compared to what you would do for mead or for beer.
Interesting.
So because you got more sugar.
Okay, yeah.
So you just got to be careful with that because you're adding sugar. Most likely, there is still some yeast in there. And there is. I can see in the bottom.
You can see them having sedimented out.
But like you add more sugar in there, it's going to. And it's already.
And you might. I know that some people, if you're primarying after, or if you're bottle conditioning after like a prolonged fermentation or a prolonged aging, people will just add fresh bottling yeast as well.
Yeah.
Like a high ABV bottling yeast.
No, I think this would be really great sparkling, actually.
Yeah, but it is. Yeah, it's a really basic honey flavor, but like it is definitely a weaker flavor at this range of ABV.
I could see our mother-in-law drinking this all day.
Actually, she might. Yeah, because it is pretty dry. Yeah, we should let her try some.
And so would Mal. Mal would definitely love this too, I think.
Yeah, it's. I still really like this. I'm happy having never made mead before. You one of the truest things you said to us before we started was like, time is the big factor. It's easy. Mm-hmm. Patience is where the flavor comes through. And like this, compared to the first time Haley and I tasted it, it's mellowed so much. You know, just the kind of the bite has mellowed a ton. It's just really, really good. But it is a just very basic honey mead flavor, even though I think it's a good flavor.
No, great. I think clover is a great.
Yeah.
It's your basic honey flavor of what you will buy at most places.
And like clover has a really now. When you smell this mead, I know we've kind of finished ours, but there's still the dregs in the cup. Do you smell clover? You know, like when you mow clover, it's a really, really pretty smell. If you have a crappy yard like ours that has a bunch in it, like I don't hate it. I don't want to get rid of my clover because it smells amazing. Like, no, does any of that come through in the honey to you?
A little bit. Yeah, it's subtle. It's very, very subtle with it. It's not like overpowering, but it's because you got the honey and not actual flower of it. So
Okay, so we don't have a ton to say about that because we are using that sort of as the basis to compare all of our other flavors to. So we are going to move on to the next pale list, actually about the similarly pale list.
Very similar.
And that is sunflower. So
this is actually the one I've been wanting to try.
I only have one really small tidbit about sunflower, which is that each sunflower, most people should know what it is, but like each sunflower, they're giant flowers. Technically, each sunflower is made up of a disc of mini flowers.
I did not know that.
So it's like a whole array, almost like a fly's eye.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like a bunch of little.
It's that what is it from Ferris Bueller's Day Off when they look at the minimalist picture with all the dots. You just see all the little dots form into something bigger.
Yeah. So Ryan, you're taking your sip now. Comparing to the clover,
it's sweeter.
You think it's sweeter?
Slightly sweeter. Like or maybe actually no, I take that back. The dryness is not quite as there, which I think is based off being sweeter.
Sweet and dry is definitely like in wine and stuff. That's kind of that's almost like a single axis people talk about. I definitely agree with you. I think this. I couldn't quite put my finger on the. I want to say I can taste like kind of a sunflower seedy sort of quality, but I feel like it's just my bias looking for that.
Yeah.
But it is just slightly richer tasting. Than the clover. The clover is a really blank canvas. This is like the Maris Otter to like normal 2-row pale malt. It's like it's a little richer, a little sweeter, and just slightly more characterful while still being fairly neutral.
Yeah. No, I think this is about what I expect. The smell is actually, I'm very surprised there's no real smell to it.
Yeah, but I guess sunflower isn't a particularly pungent. Do you have a smell you associate with a sunflower?
Not really. No, now that I think
it's
about it.
kind of vaguely floral and outdoorsy, right? Whereas like certain things like lilacs or something have a really distinctive smell to them. Clover or sunflower doesn't really. But yeah, this one's good. I think I like this one more as a still mead, but I think if you sparkled this in clover, I'd like clover better because clover would almost approach like a crisp, almost like a sparkling water or something. And it's just crispness.
I still think this one was still.
You think it'd be better?
I think it'd be better sparkled as well.
I guess it would balance the.
You know what you need to get, actually? You need to get one of those soda streams and just like drop it in there. And
oh, dude, that is a great idea. I've been looking for an excuse to buy one of those because
you're welcome.
I want to do a Myth Brewsters experience.
I'm gonna be Maui here for a second. You're welcome.
Right.
I know you hate that movie almost.
No, I don't.
Oh, you don't? Okay, I know Kaylin's been.
Moana is good enough to hold up to being viewed every day for 60 days. It's a great movie.
I do love the movie, but I don't know if I can do 60 days of it.
No, I don't know that it was actually that. She's roved around. Her
that's good.
Her most recent obsession has been Monsters, Inc., which is good. It's not really.
Well, at least you have two of those that you kind of bounce back and forth because you got Monsters, Inc. and Monsters University.
Yeah, Monsters, Inc. University was like just okay.
Yeah. Anyways, too many tangents.
That is neither here
too many tangents in this episode.
Well, what do you think? Should we take a little break and then do? So we've kind of done what I think are the least interesting. Not to say they're not good, but I think they're the least interesting. I think the next 4 are all very interesting in terms of like what you would expect out of them.
Of the 6 that you've made, I've had 2 honeys made from that before, and one of them is coming up. So I've done clover before because it's very basic, but one coming up later. The other 3 though, I'm very intrigued by.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
But
so let's
leave with that teaser.
Break.
We'll leave with that teaser.
Yeah.
And go to a quick break. Until then, cheers.
Cheers.
Jake, have you ever been looking for a definitive Nintendo ranking and can't seem to find it because it's just everybody's own opinion?
Honestly, all the time, Sam.
Well, I'm looking for someone to give us the answers.
Wait, you mean like a podcast made by two young, handsome men where they create a definitive top 5 list of all things Nintendo?
Should we just do it ourselves?
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Let's give it a shot. I'm Sam.
And I'm Jake.
And at Top 5 Nintendo, I'm going to give you my top 5 list.
And I'm going to give you my top 5 list.
And then we're going to duke it out and see what the real top 5 is.
Hi there, I'm David.
And I'm Kate.
And we're the hosts of another Zelda podcast.
There are so many good podcasts out there, and some of them in particular concern The Legend of Zelda.
That's right, Kate, and we are another one of them. That is actually the name of our show, Another
Yes.
Zelda podcast.
And in our show in particular, we talk about some of our favorite dungeons, characters, boss battles. We have top 10 lists.
Yeah, we do deep dives on game design and production aspects of the different Zelda games.
And we talk about our own experiences. We do some review episodes, talk about our challenges, our struggles, and our victories.
That's right. Really just almost anything that has to do with Zelda, we like to talk about it. A new episode comes out every other Friday, and you can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and YouTube.
And you can also check out our episodes on our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com.
That's right. All right, we will see you there.
Okay, bye!
And we are back. And Mike is pouring us the next flavor. Which one is this one?
Number 3, this is going to be eucalyptus.
So I feel like, in my experience, eucalyptus has like a kind of a mintierness.
Yeah, so it's interesting, like, it has that kind of almost like a freshening sort of thing. So eucalyptus is primarily not thought of as like something you eat so much as, or like consume so much as like it's used in, because of its essential oils, it's used in lotions and hand creams and like sun, after sun balms especially. And it has this kind of like, you're almost like menthol-y freshening thing to it. This one too is also, it's unique in the fact that it, well, not unique, but so compared to the first couple, it is very slightly darker. So we're getting kind of,
it's definitely the darkest of the three so far.
In the wine bottles, it sort of goes from like looking like white wine to looking like pale lager, almost. It's kind of the color of eucalyptus.
I guess like almost like a Budweiser, or Bud Light even, maybe somewhere like between the two.
Okay, so what's your feeling on tasting it?
Tasting it, actually, like I was expecting kind of a mintiness to it. Because I had like a shave cream that had eucalyptus in it, but I had like
it's almost like
it's like a freshening,
effect. It's a cooling, freshening,
and like it does have that a little bit. Like it's not as it balances that dryness with that cooliness, and it kind of makes like a nice, kind of almost refreshing mead.
It definitely does give it a refreshing quality. It kind of reminds me of Northern Brewer hops. We did the Cal Common episode where we were talking about it's not mint flavor. It's the feeling of mint in the back of your throat. It's that freshening, like you feel like you have good breath all of a sudden, kind of a sensation that it gives you. And I do get a little bit of that from this. I think too that it is similar to sunflower and being slightly more rich than the clover.
Yeah.
Not quite as dry. Now, do you think, talking about it being sort of minty, is there any world in which a mint mead works, like maybe combined with like this as a base? Or do you think that would just be like orange juice and toothpaste?
I have an idea, and I think it's not crazy enough to work. It's crazy enough that it's not going to work. I would do a mead with mint and like Rio cocoa.
Like a mint chocolate. See,
I think chocolate mead.
I think that could work.
But with like, not like chocolate, but with actual cocoa.
Right. You let the honey supply the sweetness.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, wait, so when you say cocoa, do you mean like cacao, like
yes.
chocolate? So when you say not almost chocolate, like, you mean like not like milk chocolate, but like true
dark chocolate.
Like Hershey's like cocoa powder.
Yes.
See, I think that could be good. I
think so too.
Like as a dessert drink, obviously, but I think it could really work.
I might have to write that down. Write that down.
And then if you're going to use that might be kind of a cool scenario where this kind of like freshening quality would really come in.
I think that, and I think using that honey specifically, maybe 50-50. Use like regular honey and you use that honey as well. And then maybe throw in, depending on your batch, a few mint leaves on top of the cocoa. Make sure you slap
so I like that.
the mint leaves, as John Topper would say.
So you kind of let the eucalyptus do most of the work toward the freshening minty thing, and then you just use a tiny bit of actual mint. Okay.
Exactly, yeah.
I like this. See, this is why you're so good with... This is why I don't brew as many fifth ingredient beers, because like that sort of playing with flavors comes way less naturally to me than playing with actual beer ingredients. Anything else you want to say about that before we move on?
No, I think that was really good. Nothing against the other two. I think that's my favorite so far.
It is definitely...
It's refreshing.
Most characterful.
Yeah, it's definitely refreshing. Now, this one I actually am looking forward to as well. I've had this one before.
We're moving on next to Orange Blossom.
Which Orange Blossom is easier to find. You can definitely find Orange Blossom honey.
So yeah,
at your grocery store.
But so it's interesting that you say that though, because so blossom honey in general, particularly apple and cherry blossom honey, is notoriously difficult to make because of when they blossom. So oranges blossom earlier in the year, but apple and cherry blossoms in particular, they blossom after when the bees would kind of be done collecting for the year. You know, it's in the fall when it's starting to get cold. And so, like, it's not really healthy for the bees to be, like, driven out to collect them. Yeah. And so it's sort of apparently...
Well, that's why orange blossom I usually can't find, but like you said, cherry blossom.
Or at least around here. Like, it is possible. Haley actually found some cherry blossom honey that she bought because after doing this experiment, we're really curious about it. But because we were in Iceland and it was at like a G&T bar.
Okay.
They had this cherry blossom tonic water. Ooh. I hate tonic water usually.
Yes.
Like just regular tonic water. This stuff you could drink like soda, just on its own. You didn't have to have anything in it. It was incredibly delicious. So we've been really curious about that.
But, that'd be a fun one to do.
But let's focus,
I do like this.
Let's focus back on the one,
like almost orange zest feel to it.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, it is like it's orangey, but not like
overpowering.
Right? Not. Yeah, it's like aromatic orange. Yes. Not like
This is. I just had an idea.
It's like you are tasting something that was made with orange zest, not you were tasting orange juice or whatever.
I have an idea because I'm thinking. I do a lot of old fashions.
Ooh, I like where you're headed.
Do an old fashioned, but instead of doing simple syrup. You just put this
orange blossom honey.
No, just put this in.
Oh, you put the orange blossom mead?
Yes.
You know, if I wasn't driving home, I'd say we should do that right now.
I might steal a little bit so I can do that tonight.
Absolutely. I'll if it's good, then we're gonna make some at my house.
Yes, I'll let you know. I think that because like it's sweet enough to
sweeten the drink up just a little bit.
And then you get the oranginess. I'd still do some, we have orange bitters, so we'll do some orange bitters in there and everything. But like, I think that would be amazing.
This to me too is like, it's by far more characterful than the first three in terms of its flavor. The eucalyptus, you were right, is more of a
freshness.
Eucalyptus is more of a sensation. This is also the most pungent scent. It smells to me very summery.
Yeah,
but it does. It is blossomy. It's not just orange. There's definitely a floral element to it, which honey usually has, but it's not lost on this. It's not like replaced with fruit. It's augmented with a fruitiness that I really like. Yeah, this one's fun. Yeah, this is definitely one where I could see a lot of cool things coming out of it using this as a base, you know, and then maybe, I don't know, layering on flavors that complement orange well. Okay, anything else?
No, I think we're good. These next two are the ones I'm interested in. So basically they're nuts.
So the next two are very, very interesting. So we're going to do cashew next. This is where, eucalyptus and orange blossom, very similar colors. Cashew starts to get a little darker. Again, if I were to look at the glass, it's maybe more of a, like, you know, if orange blossom and eucalyptus were Bud Light, this is Budweiser.
Yes, I can agree with that.
I'm not trying to, you know, ruin anybody's appetite for mead by comparing it to
cheap beers, but yeah,
cheap beers instead of like wines. But that's just that's what the color reminds me of, and the level of clarity.
And I think the macadamia almost gets into like apple juice.
Yeah, you're right. Macadamia looks a lot like apple juice.
But we're gonna do cashew first. So Cashew's here.
We're doing cashew first. Again, we're going lightest to darkest, more or less. And cashew's interesting. So nuts in general are kind of interesting. So cashew is a fruit tree indigenous to Brazil and Venezuela originally, but has been spread across the world, kind of like coffee, you know. So the nut is the seed of a fruit called a cashew apple, which apparently is not very good to eat, but it's distilled into liquor and used for some other things. So yeah, I was really curious, these nut trees, how reminiscent, kind of like I said about the sunflower seeds, how reminiscent of the flavor of that nut they were going to be.
You said the word apple, and that's almost what I get.
You said apple juice.
Well, no, but when you were saying like
the cashew apple, it's a cashew apple.
Like it almost has like
it is almost. If I told you this was a still cider, you might believe me.
Yeah, I might. No, it's very good.
That's a really interesting comment. Because you're right. It is. I didn't come up with that because Haley and I have tried all these. I'll say.
Well, and I was actually just looking to see which ones you guys like the most, and it looks like this is actually one of your guys' top ones with the eucalyptus.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's very flavorful, but you're right. It is distinctly appley. Mm-hmm. And I like cashew is a really cool, very unique nut flavor.
Yeah.
I don't, even looking for it and wanting it to be there, I don't get any of it in this.
I mean, I do like cashews. Of nuts, I like cashews more, but I'm not a huge like nut guy.
Yeah.
But like, that's what he.
Sorry, I'm being immature.
No, but no, like I don't taste really any of that flavor either. So I think it definitely has like almost a mealy apple meal to it. Like you get that texture, feel, and taste with an apple. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, you're right. Not in a bad way, but like I know. So I love hard cider. Mm-hmm. I like it a lot. Haley doesn't. She always says that it tastes like overripe or like rotten apples to her.
Okay.
Which I don't agree with, but like when you say mealy, that's kind of, I wonder, but she liked this though, so maybe not. I was gonna say I wonder if it's the same sort of like apple flavor, but it's really not because she liked this a lot. So apparently whatever ciders.
Well, it's good. I feel like it's appley and not cider as much.
You're right because it tastes like fresh apple. Yeah. More than it's almost
like you bite into an apple instead of mashing it.
Or like an apple infused water or something like that. Yeah. More than like a cider, because the cider you can kind of feel the age on it a little bit. It's just not quite the same sort of flavor. Yeah. Okay, should we move on to the last thing?
Last one. Let's do this. Darkest one, and it's also a nut. So
so macadamia is a really interesting. First of all,
I love macadamia.
You can see from the picture. Maybe we'll post the picture to the Twitter page as well, because I know that the one that kind of like is for the episode description on the website is a little doctored to look nice and episode-y. But these flowers are all gorgeous. They're really pretty. A lot of them have like a deep kind of like red to pink sort of like color scheme going on. But so macadamia is a nut tree indigenous to Australia. The nut is technically the seed of a fruit, but the fruity covering is really thin. So it's a nut tree, you know. I don't know that I've ever had a macadamia nut.
You never had like white chocolate macadamia?
I've had things flavored with macadamia like that.
Those aren't macadamia nuts in there.
I guess they are. Yeah. But like, I guess I've never had one separate from that. So like, I sort of know what it tastes like in that cookie or whatever, but like, I've never just
growing up in Hawaii, they do a lot of macadamia there. I know you said it's indigenous to Australia, but
it makes sense because it's all the Pacific Ocean. Yeah. It might be indigenous to Hawaii too, for all I know.
It is very light. It's not like a super like cashews and walnuts have like a very specific flavor to them. Like as a nut, a macadamia is just like a bleach version. It's kind of like white rice to brown rice.
Okay.
So
it's kind of
white bread.
It's a smoother but more generic kind of a flavor.
And this actually, I like this,
which is interesting because I find this to be the nuttiest flavored mead out of all of them. I definitely get a little bit of nutty flavor. It is kind of generically sweet, but like without the apple quality that cashew has.
Yes, exactly. I agree.
But I do get a little bit of like a nut character in this. I wondered if you were to do something like, well, you know what? Actually, this was the next thing I wanted to cover. So I guess let's say, so first of all, I love the color of this. I think it's a gorgeous color.
Yeah.
It's quite dark for something that like literally it just comes from the honey. Mm-hmm. It's amazing the difference in color between this and like standard clover.
Yeah.
How much darker it is. So this is I think one interesting use of these would be to modulate the color of the mead, sort of separate from your fruit additions.
Yeah.
So that's one part of it. But also, I do really like the flavor of this. This is, I would say, the back half, just by virtue of having a little bit. I like all of these, but like they're all very characterful and unique. And I was shocked at how different these managed to taste from each other. Like from all being just purely honey. What do you think?
It's honestly it's like what you were saying, like changing that base just a little bit does so much, and it's the same thing with beer, like changing that base. And from my point of view with brewing beer, like because I do extracts, doing a Pilsner malt to a pale malt to a dark malt to a Munich malt as a base does a lot to change it, and that's pretty much what you just did here. Pilsner malt with the clover and the sunflower.
Right.
You have
all the
a
way
pale
down
malt.
to like dark Munich and the macadamia, basically.
Yeah.
And well, but it's interesting too because the flowers, like the fruit that it comes from, they have such a range of qualities. Like for base malt, it's a good comparison, but base malts also are just differently kilned. It's all one axis. But like orange versus eucalyptus, man, those are completely different worlds of like sort of the what we associate with those plants. And so it's a really interesting mix of
it's like they bring in
get out of these.
It brings in what the flavor of what the plant is. So saying going to orange to eucalyptus, like eucalyptus having that kind of a minty freshness to it, and orange having that citrusiness to it, and you actually see it in there and everything else. So you could see it in the honey, but it's a mellower version.
Yeah.
And Rex making his podcast introduction
Rex
here.
is making, hey buddy. Unfortunately, we're not on video, so you can't see what a little stud he is, but he's coming over and making noise and saying hi to Uncle Mike. All right, so I'm going to kind of put you through the ringer here because I consider you very, very creative. We've already talked about a couple things you can do with eucalyptus, but you being the more experienced mead brewer, I would like to. I'm gonna throw you each of these. We'll exclude clover because clover is what you would normally use for most of your meads, right? So we already kind of know what you use clover for. It's lots of stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a very generic,
But so let's say, okay, in comparison to clover, put on the spot, what is one thing you think sunflower, if you were to use sunflower as the base for a mead, what sorts of flavors? So we said that was slightly more rich, slightly sweeter. How would you leverage that? Like, what sort of mead do you think would be better using that honey versus clover?
It's going to sound weird, but I'll explain. A salted caramel mead.
Oh,
going
I
with like a salt sunflower and everything, sunflower seeds and everything, with the little extra sweetness that comes for it naturally compared to the clover. I think that with the caramel and the salted caramel itself, I think would turn out very well. It would be. I have no idea how to make that, like adding those flavors in there.
But that's
it's definitely doable because you have
idea,
salted caramel stouts, for instance.
Right.
But
well, and that's the thing. I'm straight up putting you on the spot here. but I mean, like if you just added some caramelized sugar to it, or something like that. I'm sure it's not that hard to do. Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the fun of this. Like you're not gonna live or die by these because I know I'm putting you on the spot. I'm just curious what you come up with. Okay, what about orange blossom? If you were to use that as the base of a mead, what's like the first thing that pops into your head is like, what would you use that for if you were gonna use that as the base for a mead?
Haley would like this because I know she likes these too. Chocolate orange.
Okay, yeah.
Do a more sweeter chocolate instead of the dark chocolate, like with the eucalyptus
that
I was talking about before. Doing that and kind of giving that. I've had a what was it, porter or stout? I think it was a porter. That Micah and James, friends of ours, that did, and they use orange juice in an actual beer, and then use dark chocolate nibs and everything else. I think putting some chocolate nibs into that would be a nice little balance with it.
It would be good. And I think the more floral aspects of the orange blossom would work really well with the kind of orange chocolate thing too. Kind of like how it can be fairly common in porter beer to use more floral sort of hops like Fugels or Willamette or something like, because it just, I don't know, it's a nice lift to the chocolate thing. So the first thing that popped into my head here was like a pog kind of flavor profile, passion fruit, orange, guava.
Okay.
So combine this with some tropical fruits like orange
That'd be good.
or like passion fruit and
I would
guava,
like that.
and kind of take it in that direction. That's the first thing that came to me. Okay. How about cashew, which again, we describe cashew as being not cashew nut-y, but actually more surprisingly kind of apple-y.
I honestly would fall in straight with the apple, and I would probably put some apple bits in there maybe to kind of bring out
So that'd
the
be like a
apple.
sizer technically?
It wouldn't be a sizer because you're not actually doing a cider, pulling the apple and everything out of it.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that was a Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that was a requirement for a sizer.
Well, sizer, technically a
It's like
sizer.
you're fermenting the apple in addition to the honey?
Well, you're fermenting, instead of water, you're putting apple cider in.
Oh, okay. And then meat.
And
then honey.
and then your honey on top of that. So,
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know
So
that.
that's what that one is.
But something along those lines, just like a standard mead, but with apple as the flavoring fruit.
Yep.
Okay, interesting. So what about? I'm trying to think for myself too, so I'm not just putting you on the spot. I'm trying to think of like what flavors apples go well with. So interesting. What if you make that, then you blend it with your salted caramel sunflower one?
That would be interesting.
Do a salted caramel apple.
Mm-hmm.
That pops into my head. Also, man, I don't know. Like maybe like an apple.
I was thinking ginger.
Okay, yeah.
Like a
That
sweeter
could be
ginger.
nice. That could be really nice. Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to think of like what other flavors like are used with apple. I can't even think of it. Well, so I know a lot of ciders that are really successful are like mixed berry ciders. People tend to like a lot, so I could see maybe going that direction with it too.
Yeah.
Okay, so finally, macadamia, which I know macadamia was funny because to me, it's one of the more characterful ones we've had, maybe behind orange blossom and cashew. So I guess maybe not. It's like the third most flavorful one, but it was hard to pin down exactly what that character was.
I would probably, actually with this one, I was thinking about this one. I would probably set out for more of a tropical fruit to go with this one instead. So like maybe a pineapple, coconut, or banana or something like that. Something very tropical to go with where it's from and everything and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. That would be really good. Yeah, because I was wondering whether you were going to go the chocolate route again and do white chocolate macadamia, but but on the other hand, it's not, as we've said, the bees are harvesting from the flower,
not the nut itself,
which does kind of like come out of the fruit or whatever. It's like the same connecting point or whatever, but it doesn't always taste the same. Like orange blossom is reminiscent of orange, but it's not orange.
It's slightly different. Yeah.
So it is.
But if you did white chocolate with it instead,
Yeah, I mean,
think
it could definitely be interesting.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I guess we don't need 3 meads with chocolate on it.
That's kind of
because that
when
to
I
me
did the
is
story
sort of
chocolate,
a weird
I was like,
proposition to begin with. But I actually really like where your head's at, because I think that nuttiness could kind of ground those tropical flavors a little bit, but it has enough residual kind of sweetness that I think it would. Because that weird thing can happen, like a cherry beer or whatever, where the yeast eat up all the sugar and you're just left with the flavor, but not the sweetness you associate with the flavor. It almost can taste fake.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it just tastes wrong to have a sweet flavor with no sweetness.
Yeah.
So like this would kind of provide the sweetness. So even if the yeast munch up some of the sugar from the fruit that you're adding, there's kind of, this, for whatever reason, this mead or this honey seemed to leave a little bit more sweetness than like the clover did.
Yeah, and that's why I think the sweet tropical fruits would work very well with that.
And the kind of darker base starting color, I think, would mix really well. If it got kind of hazy from like some of the fruits, it might almost have like a New England IPA kind of a look.
I was honestly just thinking like maybe go pina colada with it, like do a coconut with mostly coconut with some pineapple in there as well.
Yeah.
I think that the macadamia sweetness and even the color would work. The color with that would almost make it look like the rum that you put in there.
Oh yeah.
So it might balance that color out just a little bit.
I wonder if you just so you do that and then you mix it with a little blue curacao.
Ooh.
You can do like a little fancy pina colada.
Man, now I'm gonna have to buy this rainbow honey and do this myself and make new flavors. And that will be next season.
So I will
rainbow honey. Inverse.
Part 2, right? Yeah, rainbow
remixed,
honey, right? Remixed. I will. I'll not. I won't send you home, quote unquote, because I'm at your home. But
Yeah.
I'll give you a little bit of each of these. I have the bottles the honey came in. But that's not much. It's only about 4 ounces.
The one what I really want is the orange blossom because I want to do that into an old fashioned. I think that's to be the one I want to do.
I'll give you at least each of these 3 or these 4.
Yeah.
If you're interested, because I would be. Yeah, I'd be interested to see kind of what you come up with them.
Well, see, you can give me a little bit. I want to actually just like from the beginning, just do one.
Yeah.
And actually, what I might just make it one at a time because I don't want a repeat of a 6-pack again. But like what I might do.
I will say that this is a lot easier than making 6.
Oh, agreed.
Like I said.
Agreed. But like what I'm thinking about doing, maybe each one, like I'll try and do like the orange blossom is the one I want to. Oh no, the sunflower one is the one I actually want to do the most, and maybe the eucalyptus as well. Those are the 2 that intrigue me the most, and maybe the macadamia as well. Doing like a pina colada with it. But no, it's interesting. I might investigate because I was thinking of doing a mead coming up soon because I just finished off the last of my elderberry fig that I have.
Yeah, I see the empty bottle over there looking sad.
Yeah, no, it was a sad day, but like it was still tastes good. But
for as much as I'm famously not good at like rationing my like whiskeys, I'm very good at rationing my mead. I make it last.
Well, I will say like I gave a 5th to you and I gave a 5th to David, so like I kind of had like almost like a half 5th or 2/3 5th in this one, so it went by a little quicker.
Yeah. Well, all right, cool. Well, this was a good episode. So so sorry, one more closing question.
Yeah.
So I've already kind of given mine away. If out of the ones here, or aside from the ones here, the other honey I'm most interested in working with by far is cherry blossom. I think I'm fascinated by that. Haley and I have some honey. We're planning on making a batch.
Okay.
So what other flower honey would you be interested in working with?
See, this comes down to I don't really know what has flower to it. I'm thinking of fruits.
Yeah.
That could have a flower to it.
I mean, there are apple blossoms. What about like I wonder if you could make like can you make like lilac honey or lavender honey?
I was wondering that. Lilac was the one I was actually interested in when you said it earlier. Lavender, I think, would work better than like with what I think it would be better than what I did, obviously, with the 6-pack where Among Thieves, because it'll be more of a natural with other sweetnesses with it as well to balance out the possible soapiness that can come with it. But I think.
Well, but also like if you were using the honey, you might avoid that problem because you're not adding the petals.
True.
I mean, you could add the petals too to kind of lean into it, but
I have an idea, and I don't know, and I'm probably gonna called out by either you or someone on the internet for saying this, but
you suck. Your idea sucks.
I don't.
You've been called out.
Wheat or barley.
Does that flower?
And that's what I'm wondering. I don't know if it does or not. But to pull honey strictly from wheat or barley would be an interesting one as well to see what flavors come out of that, like a sweetness with the barley.
I don't know if it does.
So
I have no idea.
Yeah, that would probably be the bringing it kind of back to beer a little bit.
I would think not, but I don't know. I'm not a farmer, but yeah. The other. Well, I honestly to me just the blossoms, fruit blossoms, I think are pretty fascinating. So apple blossom would be really interesting too. I wonder if the apple blossom would be more or less what?
Barley does have flowers. That's why it's called 2-row. You have 2 rows of flowers in it.
Well,
so
shoot then.
Imagine doing a honey based off that, which I don't think it'll have much honey to it, but
I wonder if you did something really kind of earthy flowery, like geraniums or something like that, how that would turn out.
Oh, hibiscus.
Oh my God, hibiscus, dude.
Hibiscus would be the flower, yes.
Hibiscus would be the bomb diggity, yeah.
Boom.
Dude, hibiscus is so weird. I just got some hibiscus petals to make tea with. You add it was like a 1/4 cup of hibiscus petals to 2 cups of water.
Okay.
And then I just let that cold steep for a day. It is tart. Straight up tart. It's incredible how tart it is, considering it's just water with flower petals in it. Hibiscus is really fascinating.
The flower petals would be tart, but you want the honey from that. And I can tell you right now.
Yeah, but I wonder if the honey
really,
from that...
really good. Because I grew up growing up in Hawaii again. I used to actually take off the little stems that come from the middle where the honey is, and you could suck the honey out of it.
Really?
And it's really,
like
really
the
sweet.
nectar? Yeah. Huh. It's sweet. Okay. All right. Well, cool.
Well,
yeah, I think that's a good one. You'll have to keep me posted if you ever find some of that.
Oh, I will. I definitely will keep an eye out for that now.
So in the meantime, if you would like to find us online, you can find us at Brewthers-In-Law on Twitter and also brewthers-in-law.com on our website. There's no spaces or dashes. It's just spelled right out the same way it is in the title of the podcast. If you have any feedback on the first sip, if you have any feedback on it, if you are a mead maker and you have ever used any sort of kind of out there specialty honey, or if you just have ever eaten, another one I thought of was like the mesquite honey I used for the Zelda beer. Yeah. That'd be really interesting too. So, but yeah, anything like that, we would love to hear about it. Or if you just, want to get a hold of us. So Ryan, there are some additional ways people can get a hold of you.
Yep. So personally, I'm on Twitter at Rambo Kuhn. That's RAMBOKUHN. Anything brewing related, Wise Old Owls Brew on Twitter and also on TikTok as well. Wise Old Owls Brew. I have officially started a Instagram for Wise Old Owls Brew. I have not posted a single thing.
Interesting.
I have not really thought of what to do with that. So if you want to find me on there, you will find nothing, but you can start if you want to.
You're good on TikTok, but you get into Insta all of a sudden. So you're basically
doing two things at once, like fresh like that. It's difficult.
You're like an almost Gen Xer who has no problem being a Zoomer, but has trouble being a millennial. Is that basically where we're at?
I'm a kid at heart. What can I say?
You are a kid at heart, not a middle-aged person, which I guess is where us millennials are.
No, I'm definitely not middle-aged. No.
All right, well, yeah, and in addition to that, make sure to let us know what you think about the show, particularly on Apple Podcast, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd love a comment. We'd love a rating if mostly you're on Apple Podcast or somewhere that does ratings. But until next time, cheers.
Cheers.